Number 31, Fuzz Power. Well, fuzz is right. You're some guy with a big nose, big feet, and lots of fuzz.
Hi, Gute und Grüße aus dem Brütal. It's me, your maybe third favorite feline-based YouTube loser. And I'm here to ask you one of my famous stupid questions. Have you ever been so very torn about what you think about a game after playing it only once? Yes? Well then go and tell someone else. Because today I'm going to talk about Brütal Legend. Habe ich das jetzt richtig gelesen? Once you boot it up, it starts off very charmingly with a video of Jack Black going into a record store where he sneakily positions himself behind a corner to go through various albums of differing genres, including such as power metal, neoclassical metal, Metro Exodus exclusivity deal metal, and forbidden metal, just to show us this one mysterious record.
Okay. You sure you're ready for this? Because what I hold in my hand is not just gonna blow your mind, it's gonna blow your soul. Go ahead, open it.
Which, when fondled in the right way, reveals an intro cutscene where Jack Black's Mary Sue gets teased by the badly animated 2000s gobshite boy band thingy over here.
Sorry I smashed your guitar last night.
Achieved with CryEngine.
Which in itself includes such lovable characters as Cabbage Midriff, Gesicht wie ein Schrottplatz, Random Actor Number 3, and the Phantom of the Zoe 101 era smartphone. And they do actually play a nice opening instrumental. But then it turns out it's all a fake out and they go all cringy 2000s teenage heartthrob smash mouth corner of the room cam on us.
Somebody,
I can fix anything, except that.
So naturally the gods have decided that they deserve nothing but misery.
I told you not to climb on that, you stupid mother! Fucking piece of shit!
A good roadie knows his whole job is to make someone else look good. Keep someone else safe. Help someone else do what they were put here to do. But then before you even realize he was there, he's gone.
After that, Jack Black wakes up in the Brütal Legend world.
Huh?
Says some shit.
Ooh. Huh?
The game tricks you into thinking it's gonna be an alright hack and slash a la God of War. He says some more stuff.
Alright, nice try, lady. Or whatever you are. I'm supposed to think you're a nun, but I know you're really some kind of big ugly demon, so let's have it.
Hello, me old chum. I'm a gnome.
Aha!
We meet some girl.
Oh man, don't tell me I've been slaying hot girls this whole time.
He builds the most generic hot rod I can imagine.
I call it the Druid Plow.
An alright vehicle boss fight happens. She calls Chaplinsky by his persona's name, even though he has never told it to her.
Just come a little bit, Eddie, come back!
Crumbling bridge.
I'm on a way to hell.
I wish I never met you!
And then she reunites with her crew. Beautiful interactive story, the end. Well, actually those were only the first 15 minutes. And incidentally the only bits where I had any fun with this game. That's right. Because then the game lets its true colors fly. And they're all shit brown. Because remember that bit where Jack Black went on about being a roadie?
A good roadie knows his whole job is to make someone else look good, keep someone else safe, help someone else do what they were put here to do. But then before you even realize it was there...
Well, and what kind of game do you play in a sense as someone on the sidelines controlling the ones actually doing the fighting?
I know from meeting you, Lars, that you are the true leader here, not me. What I know is how to put a crew together and how to keep it organized and how to take it on the road.
And follow-up question, what game genre starts with R and ends with real-time strategy game? Wait, are you telling me? Yep. This game is a console real-time strategy game. Oh yeah. It has some minor hack and slash bits and some shitty driving bits that are about as fun as Wrong Side of the Tracks in San Andreas.
All we had to do was follow the damn train, CJ.
But at its heart, it's still a real-time strategy game developed for consoles. Oh god. Now don't get me wrong, I love playing a good RTS, like Men of War, or that thing Goebbels went on about. But that was neither what I signed up for, nor what I got. And can you blame me?
Even if you print in large letters that this game is gonna be an open world RTS thing, you'd still probably not believe it, since that's really not what this game makes itself look like. And even when I started playing and I knew the RTS bits were coming, it was still incredibly out of place, kind of like me using this voice.
I signed up for a funny, music-centered adventure with Jack Black, blackjack, hookers, good music and witty dialogue. But what I got was this mess. I mean, look at it! The overworld looks like if 2008 World of Warcraft ate up a bunch of metal album covers mixed with spiked cans of Fallout 3 and vomited that onto Lego Island 2. That is to say that it just looks and feels like an ugly and confusing mess of visual jokes pretending to the whole leather, chrome and motorcycle aesthetic. The world might fit the whole album cover in a store for 50 to 60-year-old boomers complaining about millennials while drinking Monster thing, but in practice everything just becomes boring and visually monotone. What doesn't help is that because the camera is always angled downwards, 50% of the screen is covered by the ground or the arse end of that generic hot rod most of the time. So you can't even appreciate the interesting bits of the landscape, which should normally not be a problem with such a large field of view. Plus, I don't like how the game expects you to accept this world as a real thing, because it's just so obsessed with the whole metal aesthetic. I always waited for the twist where it turns out that it's all a dream or something. Think about it, if you have a scenario where a guy gets knocked on the head and suddenly wakes up in a world that just happens to revolve around what he likes.
Ever feel like you were born in the wrong time? Like you should have been born earlier? When the music was real?
Because it's a real piece of shit.
Famous people pop up left and right.
No. Bunch of wankers. No one figured out any of it. Until you, whoever you are.
I remember being in a club when I was out in London. Don't ask me where this club was, I've not got a clue. I remember.
No.
Hey, my inspiration came to me in a dream and helped me overcome my issues, type of deal. Isn't like that far-fetched, is it?
Hi.
Ozzy.
I'm down on my knees. I've done so much booze.
But then again, but hey, that's just a theory, a game theory. Jack Black secretly Ness. Thanks for watching.
In rasender Geschwindigkeit steigt der schlanke Stahlleib in die Stratosphäre.
And the Ozzy Osbourne thing? Yeah, that happens. Along with appearances from some other people I know basically nothing about because they're from a niche genre of foreign music that was peaking about 25 years before I was born. And every time that happened, I always expected a Simpsons character to pop up and announce the name of whoever that was, expecting me to feel impressed. That's not to say that they didn't give good performances or didn't get good dialogue.
This is gonna be a bloodbath.
Well, some sort of bath is definitely in order.
But they kind of reminded me of the time when they threw a bunch of Minecraft Let's Plays into Minecraft Story Mode.
This is Torque Dog. Sup?
And I'm Captain Sparkles. Though, maybe you know that already.
Kill me. It's a shame that things are this way, because they could have become so much more than that. But they don't really interact with the player or have time to develop, because just like the terrible camera, they don't mix well with the RTS bit. And this notion of doesn't mix well with RTS is something that this game retains throughout. Because through most of the experience you are just gathering up more stuff for the RTS bits. And everything else is just so much as set dressing that the developers were overly excited about.
Hi!
Ozzy.
Which is a thought that became even more reinforced in my mind when I thought back to the opening, which worked without it. And that very well. And how backwards is that? The opening dropped you right into the action and didn't flounder around different gameplay types like the rest did. If anything, I'd say they should have kept Brütal Legend this focused and linear. Make it more story driven, and I hate to use this example, but they should have made it more like a Telltale game. Yeah, okay, maybe not that. But I still think that handling a good story is where the whole early Telltale Double Fine former LucasArts bunch were their best. All I'm saying is that I would really appreciate a Tim Schafer game that actually combined the chrome and leather with likable characters in an atmospheric environment, good music, and fun moments.
This next slide shows our new, more aggressive corporate strategy.
If only there was a game that does all of these things better than this one. On Steam. For $14.99 as well. Oh. And yes, I will accept my Academy Award upon my departure from this video. Thank you very much, Hollywood. But if I'm already comparing things like a real critic instead of just a twat with a microphone, I might as well tell you how I'd improve the plot. So here it is. Well, in the beginning of the story, Jack Black is being dropped into the world to fight this Judas Priest glam rock person. Which I think is a great concept. Having one character who's clearly stuck in his own music genre being challenged by someone who's stuck in another is just an interesting concept, so build upon that. Instead of having the world consist entirely of vaguely Germanic, Nordic, Rune, Pickelhaube, Iron Cross, Moteur, Heat types of things, with the weird glam rocker guy just randomly existing, just make the metal bit part of a much larger world, all representing different types of music genres and associated aesthetics if you really must.
Only through the conflict of ideas can progress actually happen, and thus in this instance Jack Black can actually grow as a character. You can tell this is important to me because I put on my deep voice.
Being stuck with only metal just isn't healthy, and in my viewpoint, the definition of stagnation. I personally don't like the bell-bottom sweaty chest head disco aesthetic, but I'll be tapping my foot to Staying Alive any day. And I do the same thing for many types of genres. Thus I can listen to music no matter what mood I'm in. Which is something I can't imagine in the rigid confined structure that is metal and its culture.
Metallurgy.
Which is why having Jack Black recognize the skill and dedication that is required to become a musician in the first place would be a perfect message to go out with, instead of this simple stupid scenario. But that didn't happen, and I'm sad. But hey, at least we got a shitty version of Ein Heller und ein Batzen.
Hella yes!
Come on, people. How many times do I have to say, don't use this line just to call up and shit in my fucking ear? For Christ's sake.
I don't know, maybe my way of thinking is vindicative of the times we live in, where politicization has become so prominent that just something trying to be stupid fun is just too alien for me. But while it's clear that it doesn't just exist as a cash cow or to pat a certain political ideology or mindset on the back, it being so adamant that you adhere to its shtick makes it almost worse in my opinion. When I play it, I can really only think about how it's just too brash, narrow-minded and one-sided in the way it handles its world and characters for me to get invested in. Since so much of it seems to exist not to make you think or to get invested in its intricacies, but just to push the aesthetic and lifestyle to the ones already liking that. And once I realized that, the interest I had in Jack Black's character development and potential growth in the beginning just flatlined beyond that point. They could have done something here, but they don't. And that, in my opinion, makes it a sibling to the whole political agenda thing. Because this game is in a way an identity politics thing for the whole born out of anti-establishment post-hippie metalhead subculture. One of the defining characteristics of which has always been its defensiveness to other viewpoints, or music genres. And that characteristic defensiveness and self-victimization is definitely on display here. The entire game reeks of it.
Hundreds of our strongest young men, given no tools, forced to break solid rock with nothing but their own thick skulls.
Well, come on, let's bust them out of there. Where's the gate?
There is no gate. They have nowhere to go. No idea how to function outside the pit. Society has no use for them, so they stay underground. I wish I could help them, but I mean, what do you do with a bunch of kids who don't know how to do anything but bang their heads all day long?
You start a revolution, Lars. Right after I go do some stuff.
And sure, some things like the Englishman flying with his big hair while talking about labor disputes are kind of funny.
I know how to handle petty labor disputes.
But when they then try to do things like having a character nearly die shortly after we learn about the silly, funny Agro-Anglo, it just all becomes a sad farce. It's like if I put together a point-and-click turn-based life simulator set in a world where Wagner is blaring from the heavens at all times, boulders that look like steel helmets litter the countryside, trees the branches of which are Karabiner 98 cars grow in the meadows, and some Tommy named Tommy with a gigantic ego and very big mustache flies from the heavens, telling me that he knows how to limit the damage of Brexit, while Norbert Schulze just sits there with a sign that says Norbert Schulze on it, and you're just supposed to know who he is. Sure, something like that would be weird, unbelievable, garish, but unique enough that you'd probably tell your friends about it. But it's hard to empathize with it, because chances are you're so removed from the culture or environment from which it sprang and where it has or had some merit to its existence. And to me that is sad, because I really didn't want to dismiss what this game tries to represent, you know, me being an edgy teenager and all, but the framework doesn't do enough to explain metal, you know, to really explain metal, stand completely on its own, or provide some window into the lifestyle. Which I think it would really benefit from doing. Because for as much as it reminded me of those 13-year-olds commenting on music videos from the 80s thinking they're hip and cool, when Jack Black said,
"You ever feel like you were born in the wrong time? Like you should have been born earlier? When the music was real?
Like the 70s?
Earlier. Like the early 70s.
I really couldn't relate, and to be honest, I don't think the average console gamer of 2009 could relate either. Because counterculture, if it doesn't evolve parallel to the mainstream culture, you know, which it counters, it just becomes less and less understandable and relatable with time. So it just sits there, like a fat frog behind a sheet of glass. And as I have established, the heavy metal subculture basically set itself up for that. Or maybe that's just me being a dumb foreigner with Asperger's syndrome. Equally likely. But I think we can all agree that even if it wasn't just because of me being a spurg, you wouldn't associate a scenario where your weapon basically does no damage, so you have to call your disfigured friends to form a headbanging testido formation around you, with the powerful uncompromising image which wouldn't let some bullshit strategy thing get in the way of its awesomeness, which you'd think metal be all about. And that is where the onset of Brühlwürfel Legend is the best part of the entire experience. It combines good gameplay with an accessible environment that serves the scenario and scope much better and more consistently than anything beyond that point. At that point, the game is not just being funny but stupid.
Bunch of gross fan leeches are eating our fans.
We already knew that!
Silence, Groundwalker!
But it's workable and actually dependable, which is something that the rest of the game really isn't. On top of that, I've seen slightly dumbed down RTS elements work much better elsewhere, for instance. Black and White 2 comes to mind. But here it just feels like playing Rock'em Sock'em Robots, but you feel like a fucking moron. Most likely because it's a console game ported to PC, so the controls and battles are naturally shit. But I think that's just part of a larger problem. The first bit feels like it was made by a game designer, but the rest was just made by Jack Black playing with his toys saying, I want to go into battle. I want to go into this big battle with the babes and the sick bikes and the roadies and drive around, and it will be awesome. But needless to say, Brü sound effect number 2 wasn't. And not just because you can't tell your enemies apart from your allies. And because of its lack of awesomeness, resemblance to Mussolini's Italy, and gameplay's place of residence being all over said place, I recommend this game to no one. Not to a metalhead because they'll get bored and can listen to Motorkörper Afro Jews and AirPod Leopards while calling me a stupid poser faggot somewhere else. Not to an RTS guy because I this time got bored at the unintuitiveness of the commands requiring a fucking Guitar Hero section. Every single time you want to do anything. And lastly, I wouldn't recommend this game for people looking up Let's Plays for the funny dialogue, because you'd only get the funny Jack Black lines quite sparingly, and even then.
There is no gate.
What?
Nah.
And while filling in a new IP isn't even close to meaning as much to me personally as the fuck-ups the last game I reviewed made, I still kind of wanted to talk about this game since it hasn't gotten that much coverage, but made me get too philosophical to keep my mouth shut about it at the same time. Still, a dead fish in the water is still dead in the water. And dead fish are easy for a hungry cat to catch, so all I really did here was get myself a can of Tim Schafer tuna. And I hope it's actually gonna taste good. I cut my mouth!
Try to realize the truth.
What truth?
There is no gate.
Yeah, probably because El Presidente nabbed it.
What?